To begin, one thing that contributes to cultural relativism is language. In detail, the connotation of something can influence how one perceives it. For example, slurs create negative connotations on certain groups. Examples of these would be calling Muslims towelheads, Protestants Bible bashers, Christians Bible thumpers, and Jews penny pickers.
Unfortunately, these connotations help to create the negative dogmas. A dogma is a principle or a set of principles laid down by an authority as incontrovertibly true. An example of a dogma can be seen in the following clip. Okay, Naharka, reincarnation is the concept that a person or an animal in whom a particular soul is believed to have been reborn. So, Naharka, do you believe in reincarnation?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe it without a doubt?
Yes.
Good, so you're a fundamentalist.
In your past life, you were a badger.
Are you offended, Noah?
Yeah? I was not a badger, I was a stallion.
Our next way of knowing that helped us reach our conclusion was sense perception. People use these senses, such as sight and sound, to store their religious beliefs and fundamental attitudes.
One's lack of perception on another's religion can lead to discrimination and the connotation created about that group. The cultural relativism or the environment can permit discriminatory situations to occur. A real-life situation of this is when a Sikh basketball player was forced to remove his turban in order to participate in a basketball game. Here is an interview with Amit Pal Singh and Amjot Singh.
Two Sikh players from the Indian basketball team were asked to remove their turbans. The match officials informed the players that they were violating International Basketball Federation rules and cannot play with the turbans on ahead of the game against Japan. This incident took place during the Asian Basketball Championships in Wuhan in China last week. Amritpal Singh and Amjot Singh had to play the remainder of the tournament without their turbans. Amjot Singh, in fact, is joining us live on the story. Amjot, could you take us through exactly what was told to you by the match officials?
Before the match with the Japan, we were asked not to play. They took us out from the lineup, and they asked us to not to play in the game and to remove the turban if you have to play in the game. And we were very humiliated at the spot. Whole public was seeing towards us what is happening with them, and it was very humiliating thing for us. Where we were forced to remove our turbans.
Amjot, what were the reasons behind this directive? Did they elaborate on why they wanted you to remove your turbans?
Yeah, they asked us to. They said that you can keep some injurious things in your turban, and you can harm the other players of the other teams with that, so that you will not be allowed to play with that turban.
This helps to show the mode which the lack of perception can take. Modes can include actions, including verbal and non-verbal ones. Another real-life example can be seen by this popular Sikh Viner's reenactment of the lack of perception of a certain group of people.
Hey, you're wearing a black turban today.
Yep.
Is that because someone died in your family?
No, I'm just wearing
Shh. It's okay.
Thus, the lack of perception on one group's part can lead to a lack of perception on another group's part. Furthermore, it can inhibit the knower's understanding of another group. A large portion of cultural relativism in terms of religion is religious intolerance, which is intolerance against another's religious beliefs or practices or lack thereof. Shared knowledge can sometimes be biased and limited by lack of different perspectives. As a result, this lack of perceptive exposure can lead to intolerance. A real-life situation of this is extremists in the Middle East are not tolerated in the U.S. because of the violence they use and the information about them that we are exposed to.
Emotion contributes to intolerance as one's passion for an opinion can affect their perception or open-mindedness. This is created also through connotation and language. Another real-life situation occurred in Wisconsin where a veteran went into a Sikh gurdwara, or a sacred place of worship, and shot most of the members in prayer. He shot them thinking that they were Muslim because of their turbans and beards. Two things can be observed here. First, he had a lack of perception on the practice of wearing turbans. Sardars, which are Sikh Punjabis, are the only ones who wear the generic turbans.
The
The victims here were not just faceless targets for a deranged gunman in a movie theater, but they may have been murdered for who they were, for how they worship, perhaps for the color of their skin or the sound of their names. Just down the block from where I'm standing right now, preparing for Sunday services, when authorities say an Army veteran named Wade Michael Page appeared, took out a 9mm pistol, and opened fire.
Because we are working hard to ensure that people respect the diversity of this nation and respect your community, because your community is a pillar of this state.
Other cultures and religions, such as Muslims and Afghanis, wear a different variation that aren't even comparable to those of the Sardars. Moreover, the type which the public sees as turban is called a bugdi, and this is worn only by Sikhs. Secondly, this further proves the intolerance one can have due to their fundamental belief on another group based on the connotation of them and stereotypes. Unfortunately, the Sikhs were punished for flawed perceptions. Furthermore, this has not been the first instance during which Sikhs have been targeted because of them being thought to be Muslim. Another real-life example of this can be the interrogations following 9/11.
Our next way of knowing is faith. Faith can affect how one perceives, accepts, or rejects another's faith. This, too, contributes to religious intolerance and thus inhibits the knower's understanding of other religious knowledge systems. People may be very firm in their faith and refuse to even attempt to learn about other religions. This contributes to cultural relativism because it typically outlines countries as a particular faith. For example, the U.S. is considered Christian, India is considered Hindu, and North Africa is considered Islamic. Another real-life situation of this is religious wars. Instances of this include the Crusades. The Crusades were military campaigns sanctioned by the Latin Roman Catholic Church during the High Middle Ages and Late Middle Ages. In 1095, Pope Urban II proclaimed the First Crusade with the stated goal of restoring Christian access to holy places in and near Jerusalem. The following quote helps sum up and tie in with faith and our next way of knowing. Religious wars are not caused by the fact that there is more than one religion, but by the spirit of intolerance, the spread of which can only be regarded as a total eclipse of human reason. This quote was said by
Charles de Secondat.
Our last way of knowing is reason. We have already discussed this in talking about the real-life situation with the Sikh shooting. The flawed reasoning of the shooter was a direct result of his lack of perception and fundamental attitude.
Reason helps to create religious intolerance, which helps to inhibit the knower's understanding of religious systems. We interviewed two of our classmates, Kayla and Sophia, in order to show how reason can affirm one's religious beliefs.
This can be seen in the next clip.
Our first question is, do you believe in God? Why or why not do you believe in this? And provide evidence or reasoning for it.
Okay, well, yes, I believe that there is a God, and I believe this because, well, one, it's based on, historical, content and things that have been proven that were in the Bible, and then also by faith, personally, because I've been able to, I grew up learning it, my whole life, and then I've been able to, affirm my faith, and I've seen, God or, a higher being in my own life.
I do not believe there is a God. I don't think that religious text or affirmation that there is a higher being, and based on science, there's no empirical evidence that there is any sort of other being.
Okay, our second question is, are you guys firm on your beliefs, and why?
I would say yes, I am very firm. Many people know I'm very religious and strong in my faith. And I would say this again because it's kind of what I've grown up with, and I've been able to just continue growing and affirming this faith of mine.
I think now I'm a lot stronger than I used to be. Growing up in an environment where a lot of people had very different beliefs from what I believed, it was kind of hard for me to accept that I didn't, follow the norm. But after this summer, being in an intellectually stimulating environment where I was able to talk to a lot of people with similar beliefs really helped me become confident in what I believe, so that's made me firmer in my own skin.
An example of fundamental reasoning can be seen with the Christian missionaries. This was addressed in our primary real-life situation. Thus comes our conclusion. Gosh, dang it.
The cultural
This lack of perceptive exposure, that makes no sense. Our next way, People may be very firm in their faith and refuse to even attempt.
What did you have for breakfast? Like, what the hell?
Receives, accepts, or rejects another's.
What the poop? Why is that funny?
Wait, how did I start that?
We interviewed.
We interviewed two of our classmates, Sophie. Yes.
I interviewed
That was
myself.
Sophie.
I did it and I did well.
It is by Charles de Sukundat. Sorry, Leia. Okay.
You can't say that. Who wear the generic turbans.